So I'll run through basically how this like happened. So obviously started off with the stems. I like to just basically when I start a remix, I like to take all the kind of take the fundamentals or the parts that interest me the most, and then anything else that I can kind of remake or make my own version of, I'll try and do. Like, I mean, if you guys heard the Invasion remix that I did last year, um, turn my mic up a little bit more. If you guys heard the Invasion remix that I did last year, um, I completely stripped that one and like remade all the toms and everything on that track. And this one, I did like I really enjoyed a lot of the sounds that were already in it, so I kept a lot of it in and added some new stuff. So like on the intro, I kind of made it a little bit more emptier, so it was a bit more spooky. I enjoy like creating horror kind of scoring atmosphere. I don't know why. I just love kind of horror kind of aesthetic. So like the intro, I just kind of put some samples together to give it like a creepy intro. I have this little laughing kid here, which I started because a lot of the songs I'm putting out recently are gonna have like these kind of sound effects, like this little girl laughing. But I actually put up a video a while back of me. I was like walking through the forest or in like an industrial area with a forest, and I had like that laughing in the background and kind of made it seem like it was real and like kind of like paranormal activity. And then after a while, people started picking up that it was in my songs and that it was about new music, which is pretty cool. So. And then originally the breakdown here was similar to the second drop, how it had the kind of, and with this one I tried to bring in as much of me as it possibly can, so I brought back my trap bridge and did some trap drums instead. Use some like a lot of samples for this for the drums for this one. I used like Tynan's sub. Bunch of different things. I think using samples or not, making the sound from scratch, either way, if it sounds good, I'll use it, you know. A lot of the intro and build was like chopping up, changing around sounds, like the vocal I tried to make a bit more catchy, so like yeah, this area here I tried to make it like something that people can, even though it doesn't really say anything in English, kind of give it like a catchy kind of sound. And I also a lot of things I do this quite a bit for is on one of these. I might have. Yeah, I already put like either delay. I use like the delay trick where you pretty much just spread the stereo field to the as far as possible to the sides, or I'll put Yo Man on it, something to kind of give the main drop vocal more more bite to the rest of the vocal. It sounds like it's popping out of the song more. Like I feel. Like I know a lot of people in bass music and dubstep, they really they go for loudness and they try and like compress the song down to make it louder. Where you may notice a lot of my songs are a little bit quieter than like a lot of other dubstep songs, and it's because I like to maintain the dynamics as well. So like when you're listening to it, you can hear what's behind, in front, to the left. You know, I like to kind of create an atmosphere rather than being like a really loud track for you to play. Alright, so let's dig into this first drop. So both drops are completely different, so like I'll have to run down each one. So the drums, I pretty much, like a lot of people ask me about my drums and how I get them punchy and things like that. But I think that first of all, what is important is picking the right samples, or you know, making the sound clean and punchy to start with. Like I'll find that a lot of people when I'll take a look at for example their project, and they'll have a samples that are already kind of lower quality from the beginning, and it's like you can't polish a turd. So you got to, from the beginning, get a, you know, nice kick. And I didn't actually do anything to the channel. Like things like kick and sub, I don't really, try and saturate it too much. I like to keep it clean. I'll maybe use transient shaper. Like I'm pretty sure I've got one on that. Yeah, I used Neutron 3 Elements, and they've got a transient shaper that I like to use just to sharpen or get rid of some of the transients at the start or end of each sound. But apart from that, I like to keep my main sounds kind of clean because they're the most important. I always like to add little hats somewhere. Like I kind of have them real subtle in my songs, but it just even having it there, I like to call it ear candy. Having like fills or little subtle instruments because it really builds on the track. Like sometimes you could have a song that's got like not much going on, and you might feel like you need to add other main elements and things like that. But I'll find that generally you just filling it up with percussion and stuff is what really does the trick. And this kind of steam, it's just like hats that are kind of reverb heaps and panning onto the left and the right, so it was almost like steam blowing out the left and the right when the song plays. And again, like with the crashes, like this is all kind of simple stuff, but it's all what makes up. It's how you make each, like, so obviously this is like a real stompy track, it's dubstep or rhythm, whatever you want to call it. So like having layering on the kick and the claps, not just a kick and a clap, but having crashes or other mid bass layers, even if you wanted to, just to make it kind of really impact when it hits. And that's the kind of stuff to make it really dramatic. Is adding, like, I like to add real wide hats. I think I stereo widened them and then froze them again. So. And then I use this little clap here. Let me just up my mic a little bit more. And then I use this little clap here for kind of the transient at the start has that real snap on it. Like have you ever wondered how a lot of songs that when the clap or snare hits, especially in dubstep, it's got a real high-end crunch. It's just I normally just find a layer of some sort and just have it at the start there, and that's how you get. That's pretty much all I've done. Like, there's not like a crazy amount of processing to get the drums like going that crazy. The sun keeps hitting my laptop. And then we'll move on to the exciting part. If anyone's got any questions, I'm looking at the comments. So like, if you ask me a question throughout, I'll just kind of stop here and answer it. So the leads were actually a lot of fun to make. Every song I make, I start from scratch. Like I have like a library here of some drums that I'll use. Like they're not even really that full, but like I'll use generally new sounds every single time. So like I like to challenge myself and not have the same kind of sound every time, but then you can still tell it's me, if that made any sense. So like what do we got here first? The main lead. Actually, we'll start with the sounds in the order that they play. So, there we go. So this sound here, so this is where I'm a bit worried that it's gonna shit itself, but I'm gonna unfreeze this, and hopefully it'll be all good. It's gonna glitch out a little bit, but we should be cool. So the 4-hitter, this sound was pretty simple. Like I wanted something that was kind of like it was obviously the first sound to your drops are always really important. You want them to be catchy and ear grabbing. So I found that I just put a Reese table and this random table that I found in analog and FMing's you probably hear a lot of people do that nowadays. I find that it's a lot of fun because it kind of gives you the option to. Like every time you change from a different frame on the wavetable, every other knob here kind of changes and it will give you a completely different sound and vice versa. So like I love FMing and mixing up wavetables. I'll sometimes just FM and just go through and just keep playing it and going through until I get a good sound. Like, I don't necessarily go in and go, I know exactly what I'm gonna make here. I just kind of experiment, but you just gotta not get stuck in the same groove of how you design something. It's like, I designed this, yeah, cool. I'm gonna design, next time I go onto Serum and make something, it's not gonna have the mindset of how I made this one. It's like, yeah, just making a simple LFO, simple flicking LFO to skip the kick. Like, I've done it like that, so that so you can hear the kind of dynamics of the sound. It doesn't get, masked by the kick. You just add a little gap, so it's kind of pretty much like side chaining without having to. It's a pretty simple sound. About the sub, I'll get onto that. Yeah, I do make them separate. Like in this case, the sound here, I've got a sub on it because it's the only sound playing. So like, I've done it in this case. I've added a sub just there, but then for the rest of these sounds, I've got a different sub, which I'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, so it's pretty simple. Got a high pass filter, just kind of blocking out the lows as the sound gets kind of higher pitched. What else do I have in here? So delay to just widen it. So I use that trick quite a lot, where you basically you add a delay, and you'll set it to either BPM or time, and you just pretty much set the delays apart real similar, and then it will give you a kind of stereo widening effect. This sound, the phaser. So the phaser, I never actually really use much because like when I think of a phaser, I think of like back when I used to use Tractor DJs. Like I just had a bad relationship with it. But like I've been using it lately and like turning the rate all the way down so that it's not obviously oscillating and then just using the depth from the frequency to give it a completely different tone. So that's what I've done here. And that's how I got that. That's the main part of this sound was the phaser. And I actually create a lot of sounds like that. I'll create a sound that's kind of like really small. Like I'll often draw these LFOs quite regularly, and then I'll make a bunch of shit and have it just kind of sound like a small flick, and then I'll add some crazy distortion or dynamic like plugins that will turn it into something like this. Most of the time I get a good result. And then what's given it sounds really tight, and that's actually the on the whole channel I've got a saturator and an OTT. I put the OTT on to pretty much what I did was I downward compressed it and and squashed in the mids and the highs a little bit, and that's just tightened it all up. Like I honestly don't normally compress my stuff that much. I know a lot of people OTT chain their shit, but like I only use it if I want the sound to be nice and tight and squashed, like purposely. I won't do it to make it louder or anything like that generally. So that's that sound. I'm gonna have to freeze it so that I can open the other one, so sorry about that. I'll answer the question about the sub. So the sub, I tell anyone that I work with or teach or whatever, I'll tell them to keep the sub as clean and separate as possible from everything. So my sub, I'm pretty sure I even rendered it out afterwards. Where is it? Sub. Okay, so my sub's just here, and in this case it's actually, in this case it's in the group, but normally I think I might have dragged that in there when I was organizing it for this session, to be honest. I actually did have it out of the group because it's a good example why. So in the group, when it's especially if you've got saturation, OTT, things like that, I'll get to that question soon. Yeah, so when you have it in the group and say you've got saturation and compression going on, like a sub, the cleaner it is, the more dynamic it will be, the more warmer it will sound, the more it will sound like a sub and have the warmth you're looking for. So if you're bringing in compressors and saturators and stuff, you'll get it obviously sounding more distorted, which will sound good at the start, but when you actually play the whole song together, the actual clean sub you're looking for is not there. So like if you hear it in here, it kind of just sounds buzzy. But where I had it before was actually just under this group. I'll just move it out. And then it will sound a lot more warmer when I drag it out. See that? And that's with nothing on it. And that's why I keep my subs completely separate. Keep all your, generally when you're, in terms of mixing, when you're making your sounds, you want each sound that you want a low, kind of low area, you want to make some mids and you want to make some highs. That's how I create real clean drops. I'll create a sound, and then while I'm creating it, I'll go, okay, this is a mid sound, and then I'll isolate that. So I'll EQ it to be like that. So I'll cut the lows out and cut the highs out, or whatever. You'll see I've just done a lot of cuts here and there, and it's just, if it doesn't need it, if the sound doesn't need it, you don't need to keep it in there. So like if this sound here, this one here, which one is this? Alright, so that's like a layer. That's a layer to emphasize the gunshots, emphasize these, and then playing it together. So this one here, like I've cut the bass completely, because if you listen to it on its own, it's a habit that a lot of people have. They'll listen to the sound on its own and go, oh, I'll kind of put sub in there because you want to hear sub in your song. But then when you play it all together, that's the result that you should be listening to. You should always try and listen to your stuff like in the mix, and so you know what the final result's going to be. So like so what my point is that this, I've taken the sub out because even though it could sound cool with a sub in it, the sub down here is doing that job. You don't need to take up the subs room, you take that away. Anyway, I'll stop talking too much. And then we'll move on to the best sound in the song. I've got it frozen, but I've got the audio up here, so. Okay, so the reason let me unfreeze this one. The reason I froze this track was, I resampled it into audio, is because it had a really annoying tail on it, but I ended up resampling and using the tail as like a snare layer. So here's the original sound, you'll know what I mean. And I'm pretty sure when I was doing it, it was like it was playing like on the second one, the waveform would be different, so I just, I'll keep the same one over and over. But this sounds actually pretty weird. It was originally this sound that I made where I was literally like, I just grabbed a patch and was like, I'm gonna fuck with every parameter as much as possible, and it was originally a sound that kind of rose up in pitch. Like I think I might have it somewhere. If my CPU doesn't die, I'll show you it. I'll copy and paste this one. The sound that it was originally is kind of funny. Let's go to my sounds. Is that another weird noise, I think it was called? Yeah, so originally it was this. It was one that I've actually used in a song before. And then I pretty much just like, I made that from honestly just fucking around, and then obviously adding distortion. I added delay to a lot of things, like I've shown you, like this one I'm pretty sure. This one actually LFOs and modulates, sorry, whatever. And I like to do that so that, like, I'll have, for example, this one here. You'll probably see a few people do this, where you'll have it rise up and you attach it to like the hyperdimension, the delay, reverb, things like that, so that when as the sound progresses, so like you can hear the sound kind of goes, from low to high, you can have it go more dynamic as it rises. But yeah, all I did was took that sound and took the riser off of it, and it ended up being this sound. But it had that, because I wanted to keep that kind of metallic sound, it also gave it that tail. So I just resampled it and used that sound, recycled it into a snare hit, and actually made the song sound sick. So I'm going to freeze this. I'm gonna freeze this one again.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Making good time. Okay. So yeah, that sound is actually, like, I love that sound. I like that it's so simple. I've like heard it before, like, you know, Mr. Carmack and shit used it back in the day. I think a lot of my sound design and a lot of the stuff that I do in dubstep now, I actually got from like Mr. Carmack, R.L. Grime, DeBow, like all them guys, Quicks back in the day. So I kind of infused all of that and hip hop and stuff into this, and like that there is a trap sound, but I just infused it into this. Anyway, what else have I got? This is pretty cool. So this part here, this is like something that I want to encourage more people to do, because it's how you add flavor to your songs, and if you get stuck. So like, it's just a simple sound that was from the original. It was just this. I don't know what the actual full sound was, but okay, so it was that sound, and on the second half when it does the kind of rolling, it's just to kind of add texture to it. Like, if that wasn't there, it sounds cool, but it's like, how many of you guys have got songs where you're like, it's like you're just missing something, but you don't know what it is. You try and remake the drop, you try and do this and that, but it's normally just little things like this. You just add texture to your drops. So like, if I play it without it, like, I'd be sitting there like, it needs something in there, and that's it. And then I've got this little one in here. Don't be afraid to use samples ever. It's so much fun. It's if not more fun than sound design. I will quickly go over as well, while I'm in here, if any of you are interested, I could show you guys some mid-side stuff, like mid-side EQing, so how you can make all the kind of stuff pop out where it needs to. It's pretty much dynamic EQing. What else have we got? That's the original sound. Is there any more ones in this drop? There is. I've got more samples. That's just to add, just to add ear candy once again. Like, this here is a sub roll, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I like to do this stuff. I do a lot for, it really knits together drops, so, or switches and things like that. So I do it. If any of you guys listen to like the trap stuff that I do, like the real slow trap, I'll use sub rolls and stuff to roll into the kicks, or like, you know, the hard hitting kicks, the areas I want to be most impactful. Excuse me. So yeah, that's what that is. Pretty simple, but like in the song, it really works. And then the sub, like I said, nice and clean. The other ones do technically have sub on them, but like, you know, the gunshot bass, but it's mainly a mid, like, than a. It's got a sub on it, but it's very light, and that's purposely to have these parts. So it's like stepping in and out, you know, like. Really works. What other areas we got? And I think apart from that, it's just little areas, like it's just sampling the songs, so like adding this just to kind of familiarize yourself that it's the Chance to remix. You know, I like to do that. Make sure you're reminded that I'm not completely going off on a tangent in my, like, you know, when making the remix. What else have we got? This here, I love this. This is like this, obviously from their song. It reminds me of like Knife Party. So that's why when I made this, I kind of thought it sounded a bit like Knife Party. Like if they was to be making music like from in our kind of area. yeah. So I'll go on to the second drop, and then if I've got time at the end of this project, I'll do a mid-side EQ. So I'll speed myself up a little bit more. So you got the breakdown. Pretty much all I did here was I kind of wanted to keep the original drum flow they had, and I'm pretty sure I just redid it with my drums. Yeah, I pretty much just replaced the drums with my drums, and then the sub they had on it I just made more brutal, I guess. So this one I purposely wanted to crunch. Like it's not really it's got its low end still, but I put it there to be a nice crunchy mid kind of sub. And then I like to put these dramatic second drops, like some of you probably know. I like to it's like to the people that listen to my music, if they like the first drop and they spend enough time to listen to the second drop, then it's always going to be a surprise, and I like to always do that. So that's what this is. So the CPU is a little bit cranky on this one because there's quite a few layers, but I'll dig through each layer now. So how I made this was, I've been doing a lot lately. So the knife party comments. I like to make my these kind of drops, like these weird, I don't even know what to call them. Like it's rhythm, I guess, but my take, I guess. I like to layer each one. So every kind of little chop or sound I like to make myself, instead of trying to make one drop sound out of one noise. Like that's I feel like that's a mistake people make nowadays, especially starting out. They'll try and make they'll think that like drop leads are just one sound that someone's made on Serum, but it's not the case. I'll show you. So you got the first sound. And that sound, let's pray for the CPU. This sound is, let's have a look at it. Again, like you'll see, this is actually from the 4 like hitter sound that I showed you at the very first sound on the first drop. I'm pretty sure actually this is it's the same kind of design, but I've just remade it. So here we go. Let me turn up the mic a little bit more. Yeah, so I pretty much just changed like I was saying, how I changed up the waveform, and then I can change the FM or wavetable on oscillator B up heaps, and it will change the sound completely. So that's what I've done, pitched it down. It's pretty much the same processing as the other sound, so that's all that is. And I do that so that you can, so that the second drop's going to be so different, and I do want to change it up, yes, but I don't want it to be like a completely different song. So I've used all the all the sounds, but pretty much duplicated it and remade the sounds. So you got that sound. Which is pretty cool. If you got any questions about the sounds, like, I mean, just, yeah, shoot. I'm going to read some of these real quick. So you got a question from AJ about making a screechy sound. I have to have a look exactly what you meant, but in terms of like if you ever make a sound and you have like real high-end areas that are kind of pissing you off, if you get you go on to, this is in terms of all kind of high frequencies you have, weird sound you can't get rid of in Serum, it's just one of the effects is messing around. I'll normally go onto the compressor and just get the de-esser, which is, a de-esser is designed generally for getting rid of sibilants on vocals, so the sounds. and so they're like all that kind of sounds are in the frequency of like 18K upwards. Um, this basically gets rid of that. So it will get rid of any high-end sound that's in the song. So that's a good way that if you chuck that on a sound that's got really like annoying high-end sounds, it will get rid of it almost instantly. And also on your master chain, you can use it very subtly to cut out all harmful kind of harsh frequencies as well in the high end. So we'll move on to the next sound. That's just a filler. So that's again like the other sound I had in the first drop was to kind of fill the background. So without it, the song sounds good, but just a bit too gappy. Like, so I use that to fill it. It's more of just a white noise fill. Oh, my CPU's not happy. And that, how I made that was, it was originally I pretty much set a right click and looped it here so that it pretty much goes up to here and then it will just keep looping. So it's like a little laser gun. That's a cool thing you can do. It's almost like the Performer, like it's like the kind of their version of the Performer on Massive. You can kind of draw in how it's shaped. You pretty much do it like that. Yeah. It's not like the most important sound in the song, but it's pretty cool. Like the looping with the LFOs and things like that. I'm gonna freeze this. After this project, I'm gonna show an unreleased track. I don't think many people ever show how unreleased tracks are made before they're out, but it's coming out this month, and I thought I would show you guys because I never do this kind of thing. So, okay, well, this was actually a sample that I used. I used this for texture. I just got a guy came in late. My bass is being sidechained. Actually, I'll get onto that. So I'll get onto that right after I've shown this. So this sound here was actually I like to go through for texture anyway. So once you've designed your main fundamental sounds, I'll go onto like Splice or anywhere and get cinematic sounds. So in this case, it's like robotic industrial sounds, and this was like a metal kind of bending, and I've just pretty much got the center of the sound faded off the edges, put some processing on it. I think I put Manipulator on it, the Infected Mushroom VST, and then just resampled it. And that's what it came out like. You can kind of hear the metal. And that's how I come up with that. And it was just from not searching dubstep in Splice, I'm searching completely other areas of like the internet to find weird textures to make sounds out of. And then we got this here. Actually, I'll show that sound last because that's, in my opinion, what makes this sound. So far, that's what's going on. That sound really makes it. That one there really makes the song, in my opinion. And then we've got, that's for the second half. But let me turn up the mic even more real quick. Yo! Okay. This is just like a kind of suction sound. I call it tramp for trampoline. And just like, I cut 109, which is just past the kick. And I cut, I think it's like 18K, almost 19K, just because it had some pretty harsh high end on it. And that was just to add texture in the second half. And we've got here. That's again out of the same synth that I used in the first drop. Sounds completely different. I still use a different oscillator A. Do you use much parallel return tracks? I don't really use much return tracks. I do parallel compression and stuff when I doing pop music and rap. I do a lot of it there because you can really make shit clean. Not so much in when I'm making this stuff, but return tracks. I always just see it as like you can set a channel add reverb or whatever compression, and then you send the thing to that channel. But in my opinion, I'd rather just put it on the channel I want to use instead. But people work differently. I know a lot of people use return tracks, but I'll only use it if it's like needed in a specific thing I'm doing. But otherwise, if a track needs something, I'll just drag it on. But anyway, yeah. So this was the same sound like I was saying, but I've just changed oscillator A, changed the wavetable up a bit, and I got this sound. Just a flick. Nice flick sound. Like I do it heaps. Doesn't mean you're gonna get the same sound, but I'd give it a go. It's pretty fun. Like obviously once you've done it, you add effects. So I've got like the delay and the reverb, giving it kind of resonating that kind of dark tone off of it. And then all together, it sounds like this. And everything is sitting in its place. I made sure, like, even though it's pretty simple EQing, like, they're literally all just low cut, but what I would generally do is I will go through each one, find out its fundamental sound. So, like, this is great tip, by the way. If you're like new to EQing, I'll just go onto a sound, find out its fundamental, and its fundamental is its highest point. Or highest point, or if it's like this and it's like kind of fairly like level, I'll just click this headphone here and grab one of the bands and search for the fundamental like by your own ear. So say it's that, I'll just copy and paste that, delete it off, so copy it off that and paste it onto something else that may be the same frequency, and then I'll just drop it. So like say this was really clashing, I would just drag it on, paste it on, and drop it there until it brought the other sound out. I do things like that. Simple shit. Just think of mixing as a bunch of people are in a room and they all need their own space to breathe. So like, you know, everyone needs space to breathe. So like you got the sub, it needs to take the low end to breathe. You know, it's its own space. You can't let other guys take their space, and that's how it works. Do I have a couple of go-to wavetables that I go to? I actually no. I don't save. I save presets that I make, but I do not ever really use wavetables over again. I make them from samples. So like where you drag in a sample. If anyone wants me to show you that, like you can look it on YouTube. Like boom, you pretty much make sample wavetables from samples, but I can show you if you want. But I pretty much make all my wavetables from scratch and just start over every time. Okay, and then the last sound is this. The reason why I love it so much is because it's what's adds attitude to my songs, and it's how you kind of get signature like sounds. This is just random kind of evil horror sounds that I've put together, and they just kind of fill up the background, so it just sounds more brutal. So like I'll play them on their own. And then in the background, you can tell they really add flavor. And then that's pretty much it on it, apart from, of course, more just like... Oh, and then probably what people will enjoy also is that I use this. Is it this one? Oh no, sorry, let me find the sound. Yeah, this sound here, I use the vocal as part of the lead, so it was the same frequency. I will touch on mid-side EQing, yes. I'll just show you this. This kind of vocal that was in the song is the same frequency as the other sounds I happen to be making, so I use them as part of the lead. And yeah, that's pretty much like the breakdown of this whole song. I'll go into mid-side real quick, and but I'll just show you my side chaining is literally volume automation. So I use side chain compression. So like I'll use a side chain like just the general Ableton one when I want to create movement in the track. So when I want it to dip and flow in a certain way. But in terms of having the kick and like generally just the kick punch through, I'll have every sound completely dipped. Like, so that when that kick hits, you can visually see that there is nothing else interfering, and that's just satisfying to me. And I do that, and every single time I make a song, I'll shape it differently. And basically, I would have that side chain to every single channel, unless I obviously don't need it there. Then I'll just separate it. But that's my side chaining, and like I do that with a lot of stuff. So anything I want to definitely punch through, I'll just use automation. And the reason why, like people ask me, why don't I just use side chaining? And it's because at the end of the day, a compressor is a computer that's trying to read what you're doing in real time. So no matter how much you program it, it's never going to be exactly on point. So if you do, you could calculate it and make sure it gets on point, but what's the point when you can just draw in automation? It's just much more simpler. And mid-side, I'll show you mid-side in the next project because I think I've got a lot of mid-side going on. So that's that one. And I will open up the next one. Do I use manual side chaining for my trap breaks? Not sometimes. Like generally, like if it's trap, especially where I kind of like sometimes the kick and the 808 clashing a little bit. It kind of gives it that distorted sound in trap music. So sometimes in the breaks and stuff I don't, but in the drop every time I'll use side chaining, side chain automation, things like that. Let me just save this one and we'll open up the unreleased one. Loudness in my, so like getting loudness, it comes from the very first sound you put in your song. You want to make sure everything you're doing is at a nice level. So like, a lot of people, like old-fashioned audio engineers would probably hate this, but like I even do a lot of my dubstep stuff with a master chain on. Like I built my own master chain, and then I'll put each song in, I'll put each sound in, and I'll make it as loud as possible while I'm writing. So, let me just find, I've got a lot of different, just excuse the names, ID stream. So yeah, basically I'll start off making sure everything's really loud, like, so the kick, I'll put it in, I'll have it at like 0 decibels if I have to, and then I'll crank it even more with a transient shaper, and then that means all your drums are so damn loud, and then you just gotta, the thing that people make mistakes with though is they'll have their sub too loud. So like they'll put a mastering chain on because you're squashing the whole song down to kind of bring it up. You're forgetting that the sub will kind of turn everything down and distort everything. So you want your sub, like you want to be turning your sub right down. Like my master is actually the same as this one that was on the last one, so I will touch on the master for both. I think they had slight changes, but this one here is an unreleased track. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared about playing. I mean, this is the first time I played it out, and yeah, I hope you like it. But let's hope it doesn't shit itself as well with the CPU. And I'll go into how I made it, and it will probably come out in the next maybe 2 weeks. So.
Death to all.
skip a little bit just for, you know, me. I got the breakdown. There you go. Glad you guys like it.
Death to all.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the song. I've been working on it for a while because I've just been trying to craft my own sound. I know everyone's trying to do that, but I've been like perfecting this so much. Like I'm actually still working on it. This isn't a finished, like it's finished structure wise, like this is the song, but mixing wise, I'm still working on it. So like I'll show you guys some mid-side stuff in this that we'll be doing anyway. I've got this other drop. I had other drops that were all along here that I made. I've remade this song about 5 times. Originally was this other song called Incarnate. So like yeah, lots has happened. This is the other drop that I had. This is just gonna be deleted. Yeah, so that's that. Anyway, let's dig into it. I'll be honest, I rendered out like a lot of the sounds I would have liked to have shown you guys before I actually like kind of agreed to the stream. So like I had some really cool sounds that I made in here that I would have loved to show you, but I will talk about them as much as I can. So this is again like the second drop of AT Aliens. It's very everything's separate. So like everything's designed off the same kind of wavetables and stuff, but it's like yeah, all different. They're all different, but kind of similar. Different, but same. I spent in total on this song. I mean, songs honestly normally take me a couple of days to make if I'm feeling it. But this one where I've just changed it so much. I played it live. I've got all different versions, 4 or 5 different versions that different artists are still playing out because I can't figure out which ones I like. But this one is the final. It's ready almost, and it's coming out soon. But normally this one here took me collectively about 2 weeks of working on it to get it to how it is now, which is a lot longer than normally would take. So, okay, let's dig into it. I will go through it quicker than the last one because I spent a lot of time on the last one. Drums on this one are pretty similar to the last time. So. So yeah, pretty simple. Just got the this is the kilohertz transient shaper. I don't know if you guys know about it for like producers out there. If you get the kilohertz pack that's out right now, you can. I think it's like $14 I paid for it, and I got all of this. Where is it? Where's my kilohertz stuff? I got all of this stuff for $15 a month, and it's literally like everything you need to write music, or mix music. It's even got the phase plant synthesizer that I love using. I actually use Massive X and stuff in this track, so I'll touch on that. But yeah, I use the transient shaper, and it has this really cool function of pump. I haven't used it in this, but it literally adds like a dip in. It's like almost like sidechaining the drums. It literally adds a pump to the song, and then clipping the drums I do as well. Which, if anyone is uncertain what clipping actually means, because I know that Virtual Riot made a video about clipping and everyone started going nuts clipping all their shit. But what it means is basically when you clip something, when something redlines or clips, it turns into a square wave. So like the signal will hit the ceiling and it will be squared off. So that's what gives it, like if you was to do it heaps, like if you was to really just kind of push it to the ceiling, that's why you get the distorted sound, because it's square waving. Like you've heard of square waves, they sound buzzy, kind of, you know. and that's what that is. So when people clip stuff or clip their master, clip their drums, you're adding the slightest bit of distortion so that it kind of gives your drums or whatever crunch or can appear louder. So that's what that is. And that's pretty simple. Again, just picking solid samples. I also make a lot of my kicks from using Kick 2. That thing's awesome if you haven't used it. Even you can make snares and shit out of it as well. But yeah, that's my drums. Pretty simple. And nice and I always like to make sure my clap sponges off of my kick. And yeah, it did well on this one. And then some hats, just some like hats with reversing hats. And that's my drums. And let's get into the exciting part. So each part, like I pretty much, I've made each part to do its own job. Like it's not all just mashed together. I've spent a long time kind of making sure all these sounds fit together perfectly. And we've got, this is frozen because I've just got stuff on the chain, so I won't unfreeze it, but I've got a frequency shifter, which is the kilohertz one, shimmer, which is like pretty much, it's reverb, pretty much, and it just kind of adds like a layer of like silk over the sounds, like it gives it that metallic sound. Like you'll hear a lot of dubstep dudes use that kind of shimmer sound to give it a metallic feel, and that's just to give it the initial hit of the song. And I use it also, like back when I was talking about emphasizing the snare when the snare hits. That's what that is for mainly, so that you can really, when you headbang, like the second hit's always heavier, and that's why. And that sound, I'm pretty sure I made that from Serum, and like then, so this is actually a cool trick to do if you've got Manipulator or Portal or any of those distortion plugins that really mess up a sound. Get a bunch of, either make in Serum or get samples, whatever. Make a bunch of sounds, put them next to each other, and then add Manipulator onto the channel or Portal. Let it do its thing, record it, and then you've got this big line of weird, wacky sounds that you can chop up. And I do that a lot. And I do that a lot in my songs, and then chop them up and put them everywhere. That's what a lot of this stuff is. It's just me designing a bunch of the weirdest shit I can, then recording it through a distortion plugin, and then chopping up the samples. I can even show you guys if you want, like how, like I can do one from scratch at the end. So this is one of the sounds. I would have liked to have shown you, and it's pretty much the same where I went into Serum. I made a LFO shape and like a flick. Went through some wavetables, FM. I don't think I actually FM'd it, but then I added the phaser and a ring mod, and then I added Manipulator to the channel, and I got this kind of sound. I got also these other sounds. It was actually one sample. Like, I ended up making one sample that I made all of these other sounds. And I think there's one more somewhere. It's this one. That one there's just a simple growl with I added shimmer again, things like that. Resampled it and put it back into the track. What else do we got? I'm just check these questions real quick. Do you have anything else on your group channels for the basses? So my group channel, I've just got an OTT. I keep the group because you got to keep in mind that if you're grouping all your main sounds, any little thing you do to the group is going to affect everything massively. So I like to put have an OTT. It's just on 20%, and it's literally just like, if you look at the signals coming through, I'm just topping them like slightly. And that's just to kind of smooth them over, just compress them a little bit so they're not too harsh. And that's the only job that's doing. It's not there to make it squash the shit out of it, you know. And then all the work's done individually. So it's kind of when I was talking about using return tracks, how when you send a bunch of stuff, you're sending it all to the same effect. whereas you could actually go into each effect and like manipulate it surgically how you want. Like I find it so satisfying to do that. It's just got a fat rack, which I'm pretty sure is similar to the Virtual Riot one, if not the Virtual Riot one. It's just simply a saturator and a stereo widener. You don't one thing on fat racks, don't add it to everything just because it's called a fat rack. Like, you'll often find that it will squash the shit out of the sound and get rid of its dynamics, which is like the main part of the sound. So just be wary when you're using fat racks. Kind of start at 0 and turn it up gradually. So yeah, we got that sound. That is like the main part of the sound, which really gets me. Like, I also, before I rendered it, to give it that real pop sound, the real like kind of laser pop sound, I just did got an EQ, put the bandwidth really thin, and just searched for the real clicky part in that song, and I got that. Okay. This sound a lot of people recognize from my Destroy All Humans EP. I made that on Massive. I'll dig into this sound. Unfreeze it. Now this sound, I love it because it sounds like someone screaming as well as it leads. So it's really cool. I spent a lot of I spent a lot of time messing around on this one, as you can see. I don't know if any of you guys use Massive, but like if you use Serum, you'll be able to use this. It's just oscillators are here, LFOs, envelopes are here, your filters, yeah, effects, macros. It's pretty simple. I think that not many people use Massive, and they should, because it's really powerful, and its limitations are what's good about it. So you pretty much got each layer. What's doing a lot of it is these two band rejects, which are really giving it, and it's got the modulation kind of rising up, giving it that scream sound. But it all comes from these three wavetables. So, and they're all going right across the wavetable to give it that kind of like moan sound that it's got. And then this sound. So I've got those two sounds, and then this oscillator 3 here, which is my favorite. And how I get them kind of sounds is where you, I do this a lot, especially in Massive, is I will find a wavetable that's really gritty, and if you slow it, because all an oscillator is taking a vibration or a sound and it's spinning it, right? So if you spin it slow enough, you'll hear it going over the teeth of the wavetable. So like that's what that is. It's me turning it down so much you can hear each bump of the wavetable. If I did it slower, then it would obviously sound like a car with a flat tire. So I won't do that. But and then I did a lot of I did a bit of mid-side on this, so I'll touch on mid-side. So basically, it's something that, because I tutor students on my own, and I get a lot of questions about mid-side, and people find it hard to understand. So I'll quickly touch on it. I found a way to explain it that's not too difficult, I feel. So, especially if you use Ableton, but like you can use this with any EQ. So you have, but I will teach you on this one. So you have, I'll freeze this one actually, and I'll do it on the one above, because it'll be more impactful, I feel. What I think confuses people with mid-side the most is the fact that it's called mid-side. Like that is confusing in the way that what I would like personally, what I would call it is like it's kind of mono or dynamic EQing, like mono or stereo EQing. So you have, say this sound here, for example, right? Right, it's got I can hear that it's got a very wide stereo field. So have I got any images that I am using at the moment? No. I do not. Anyway, so I have stereo mode. That's generally the mode that your EQ will be on when you drag it onto your channel, right? And that's what most people will just EQ from there, you know, which is fine. But if you go onto your modes here, and you've got MS for mid-side, and that is so that you can separately EQ the mono signal and the stereo signal. So that means that you can, if you want something to be less stereo or more stereo, you can you can do that, and it's really cool. And it's like people mix up and down, so people mix in volume, but not many people mix too much in panning and stereo field, which is like really important, because when you listen to a song, or at least like you listen to your own, I still do it to this day. You'll hear your own song, and then you'll listen to like a professional, big artist, and you'll go, why does that sound so much bigger? And it's because they spend the time, or whoever's mixing their music spends the time mixing it outwards as well as up and down. So you have mid-side mode, and right now it's on mid, which is mono. Think of it as mono. So when you're mixing this area, you're mixing in mono only. So that right there is showing you the mono signal only. So, and mono stands for one, it's just one signal, and stereo is left and right. So if I go on to click here the M, it will turn to S, which is stereo. So you're mixing now only the far left and right kind of areas. You're mixing the stereo field. And you'll notice they're different waveforms because they're completely different areas. And so if I wanted, for example, this is the best demonstration. If I cut starting from the highs, so right now I'm on stereo, so this is only EQing the dynamics, so the far left and rights. So if you listen, it's kind of confusing when you first hear it. But as I slowly cut it, you can hear the sound get more and more right in the middle of your speakers or headphones. And that's because you're cutting out all the dynamics. Ready? So that sound right now has no dynamics. It's playing right in the center of the song. And if I bring them back out, you can hear it. Same if I did it the other way. If I cut out all the mids, all the mono signal, you would simply only hear the far left and right signal, stereo. So that's what you're hearing in that area there is just the stereo playing. So there's nothing playing in the center of your speakers. And then if you think about it in this way, say you're mixing something that's got a low end on it, and then you go to your side mode, your stereo mode, and you see that it's got a lot of low end, that means you've got sub playing through your far left and right of your speakers, which is like a big no-no. That's why when people master their music, they'll have, you can see here, I've got, I actually don't have it on, but there you go. I've got a mid-side already cutting off the low end, so that you've got no sub coming out the far left and right, the stereo field of your sound. So I hope that makes sense, because it's kind of confusing. Let me have a look at the screen. Some of these questions. FL Studio, I know I don't know about the stock plugins if it has mid-side, but you can definitely get some, like Pro Fab Filter. Fab Filter has mid-side EQ, and it's probably, I use that stuff a lot. So I hope that was of help for you. Let me dig into more of the song. How long we got? We got 20 minutes. Okay. So I just showed you that sound. And then the second scream is just the same thing, but I changed the bandwidth filters. So them bandwidth filters you saw on the filters that were making it scream, I just turned them up. And you probably would have heard that sound in Destroy All Humans, that song that I made. It's the same lead. I enjoy using that lead, it's sick. So same side chaining EQ that I normally use. So for example, say I like this sound and I want to make that kind of lasery, kind of squashy sound. I want to make it pop more in the stereo field. All you would do is go drag an EQ on, and you want it to pop more in the stereo field, so you go to stereo mode, click the headphone here, pull one of the bandwidths up, and have a good listen for what area you're looking for. And that now would have risen that frequency in the far left and right of your speakers. But I don't need to do it on that, because I've already done it, I'm pretty sure. This here is, it's a cool sound on its own, but it's not like, purpose isn't to be heard too much. It's just to, again, add texture to the kicks. Cutting the lows. It sounds like it should be a low sound, but no, it's a mid. And I've also had to bring down some of the high in certain areas, because all these different layers, obviously you're going to get clashing, you're going to get things building on top of each other, so you just got to be wary that the most important high frequency fundamental sounds are, pardon me, are using up that space. And then subs separately on its own group with the same side chaining as the other group, but completely on its own. What have I got? I've just got all the highs cut off, and it's boosted. Actually, I boosted it there to keep some of the kind of low mids, but generally I'll boost it at 80 hertz. This sub was already kind of warm, but I generally cut the boost the 80 hertz area if I want to add warmth to my sub. I'm just checking these questions out. So let me read this. So the way I thought I understood it, mid-side was the mid-side. So yeah, basically like the mid-side thing can be confusing, but yeah, just think of it always as the mid part of it is the mono area, and the sides is the stereo. So that's what you're mixing. When you're mixing each area, you're either mixing, like for example, a sub is mono, right? A sub you keep mono, it's in the center of your song. So that's a mono sound, but like, you know, atmospheric sound might be stereo. So like that's the way you think of it. Mid mono, side stereo. Yeah, so my sub's completely clean, just chilling. And it's also kind of more of a mid-dominant sound, and it really works. What else have I got in here? That's just the vocal, pretty sure.
End has come.
I would quickly actually dip into... Man, I should do a longer session next time. I've got Massive X here, because a few of you probably haven't seen it yet. But I've messed around with Massive X, and I find that it's best for... I've made cool bass sounds and stuff out of it, but it's really cool for creating atmosphere and intros to your songs. So like this one, I'll show you. So this is Massive X. You have your wavetables here, 1 and 2. You've got performance filters, your envelopes, LFOs, and you've got noise. This here is like a kind of it's a filter, but it has like a ton of stuff on it. Like that's the thing with all these new plugins, is that they're really cool, but they also are really like the limitations are so big that it's hard to like kind of make something, because you can do so much with it. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I used Massive X for pretty much all of the intro. And I really like the macro use on this, so I think it's this one. You can add, like I added these, I actually used, I think it was originally a pad that I got it from, and it had these macros set, but like I kind of linked them to other effects, and you can use them as like kind of make it more creepy or more industrial, things like that. So I'll show you. So like I thought of maybe like automating it so that it kind of rises throughout the song, but it kind of made the song too messy. And I've got this one as well. Adds like a kind of noise layer. But I don't use Massive X a whole lot. Generally, I'll just go if I'm making an intro, I'll use it for this kind of stuff, because I haven't been able to get any sounds I'm satisfied with for the drop yet. It's a little bit like I guess it's new. We're kind of learning as well, but it's pretty cool. Like I would recommend giving it a go. What other channel is there? I think there's another Massive X channel. And then just some brass sounds. And that was just doing it one at a time, so I'll start with like one sound, do a melody, and then feed off of it. Like let it, like the next layer I bring in will bounce off of it. And then we've got a serum up here where I do a lot of the time when I'm kind of just adding like a little sprinkle on top. I'll add an ARP and I'll just go through presets of ARPs, and because you'll find they're on steppers and things like that, any altercation you make or changes the whole sound. So like I always like doing that kind of thing. It's simple and easy to do. And then I've got a kilohertz. Just close my master chain. I've got a tape stop here, which is pretty much automated to go. The brass sound I used was, I'm pretty sure it was a splice sound, but it could have been. I do collect a lot of like kind of movie Foley like sounds, because especially when I went to university, I got a lot of movie Foley sounds and stuff like that. And I like to use them, but yeah, it could have been from Splice as well. Like I couldn't actually tell you. I've got the tape stop. Sorry, just here, just to drop to give it kind of a nice clean entrance into this build, because it goes from like kind of this kind of like underworld, soundtrack to this evil build. So I just have it kind of. I like to make this kind of stuff. If you sit there and spend the time, it makes all the difference with your build, things like that. Like work on each individual part of the build. Like don't try and refrain from bringing in loops, like full loops and stuff. Like just get for stuff like that, just get a vocal, put a reverb on it so that like kind of, has a long reverb, freeze it, flatten it, reverse it, use that for vocal risers, things like that, to make your builds. Second drop is pretty much a lot of this, like how I said, I pretty much made a bunch of sounds, put them in a channel, and then manipulated them, put the manipulator portal, things like that on it. I pretty much, it's all the kind of them sounds that I got, and it all came from stuff that did not sound like it at all. Like that was that sound that I showed you from the AT Aliens remix, the buzz sound, where it was originally that high pitch rising thing. I actually got it from that. How it went, yeah, just to add more emphasis on the second half of the drop. So every drop's more progressive as it goes along. And again, those and those really add the texture. And then we'll jump. The second drop is pretty similar.
Death to all.
It's just pretty much more. I just emphasize everything for the second drop. I didn't want to make it too different because I already had two big switch ups at the start. My master chain I'll run over quick. I start by adding a utility. So you have your input gain, and then so master chain will have your input gains, your compressors, saturators, whatever you want to put on, and then it will have your output, right? So you start with the input, how much signal you want to input onto your master chain, cut off the low end from the stereo field. I've got this here. I generally turn that off, to be honest. I have it on a few things, but that's just to boost the whole range, depending if it sounds good. Some compressors. Multi-band compressors, I work with them, and I work in between those and the songs. Was in between reading the comments. I work between that and the mix in the song and the sounds, and I'll kind of like level everything out as I'm going along. So I don't just slap this on. Like every single master will have completely different, dials. This finalizer that I actually got that like 6 years ago. from working. I was working with an audio engineer or something, and I got that. But I actually see it like a lot of EDM dudes have this now, and it's pretty cool. It's just literally just a compressor and a saturator matched to macros. And then I have the glue, which is my favorite. It's a pretty much like a replica of like traditional hardware compressors, and you can just get you can really push the limiter on this. Like it's yeah, really good. And then pretty much use this to make everything nice and loud, and then I will use the mix inside to push everything to its limit and clip and whatnot here and there. Okay, we got about 10 minutes left. I want you guys to shoot me some questions. I'm even happy to show you guys other stuff. Like I'm pretty chill. Like if you want to see anything, hear anything, let me know, or shoot some questions. Yeah, getting your own sound, layering. That is correct, I believe. Like, I like to really kind of kind of individually create little areas of my track as I go along, instead of trying to like back in the maybe 2-3 years ago, I would just kind of I would just kind of try and fuck with one sound on Serum or whatever until it sounded crazy. But now I like to sit there and actually craft each part of the drop, and then you've got all these little elements, and then when you go to write the song, it's a lot less harder because you've got all these different choices of sounds to work with. What some of these questions. I can show you some stuff. I've got oh shit! I just had my menu bar open that whole time. Excuse some of the names. I write a lot of different music. Marie Jack collab. You know what? You guys can hear that. Yeah, the glue compressor is sick. I like that it gives it that kind of vintage sound that it gives it is from because. The difference is because a lot of the ones that you use emulate, like obviously digital, it's all digital, but the vintage compressors you use, like the glue, they have emulator to sound like the analog. So when you're clipping or anything like that, instead of squaring it off, you can actually push a few more decibels sometimes through analog sounds. So that's why they sound a bit different and have a bit of a warmer feel. What other questions have we got before I show you this one? Why do you sometimes use the X for OTT instead of Ableton? That's a good question. Because I find that basically the best way to put it is the X for OTT kind of squashes it a lot more. And it just gives it a different sound. It kind of sounds like it's squashing it a lot more from the get-go than the Ableton stock compressor. So like I'll use that one on the hard sounds, like the harsh sounds that need a lot of work. I'll normally just chuck an OTT on. But if it's for vocals or kind of lighter sounds, intros, things like that, I'll use the multiband from just the stock one. It just it's a bit softer, I feel. You have any techniques when it comes to arranging your drop sounds? I mean, not really. I just kind of mix it up until, like, obviously have a process just from doing it so much. Like, I kind of know in my head now what works and what doesn't in some areas, but it's mostly like a lot of experimenting, really. And then if that stuff doesn't work in its arrangement, then I'll just pitch them up and down. Add random plugins, do whatever I can to get out of the rut that I'm in. I do use the soft clipper in Ableton's glue, yeah. Just the reason of obviously clipping the drums, and sometimes I even put it on the master chain if I'm not using the glue. 12. I want to shave your legs and talk about importance of branding. I mean, my legs are pretty hairy, so we could do that sometime. I'm up for that. What else we got? Oh yeah, I'll do a quick example. Actually, we got time. Do a quick example. I'll just do it in this project of how I kind of create a bunch of sounds. So go ahead, like if you actually go after this session, you go and do it. I want you to send me what you do because it would be sick to hear it. But just to save time, I'm gonna drag samples in. So let me get a bunch of weird sounds that I can find. Anything. So like grab that. I'll just say I'll grab save time here. Dubstep. Where's Virtual Riot? There you are. I'm not saying use Virtual Riot samples. I would say do not because everyone uses them and you want to try and be unique as possible. But just for example, drag a bunch of sounds in, whatever they are. Boom, 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 boom. And then I will drag, let's hope my CPU's not going to shit its pants. For example, manipulator. I'll use that. Portal is very similar. I can drag that on as well if you like. But then I'll drag something like this on. This is for when you have writer's block or when you want to get weird. And then you'll go here. Presets are fine. You don't need to be a genius. And then just go through. Let me put them closer together so that it's not as much. Yeah, see, we're already getting cool shit. Before I actually use it, let me see what it sounds like on its own. Cool. Alright. And then, but I would like to kind of get you guys to make your own sounds that go into this, like most of the time. Try and be creative as possible. So now let's hear it. And then I will just simply go into here, resample, and I'll just literally keep resampling and changing up the samples. So let me get this, record. And then I will go drag this to the side or drag it in a different channel. And then different preset or, change a knob, whatever. Oh. And then I'll resample that. And then you got like a bunch of shit. You've got like some cool stuff. Let me delete that. Sit here with this. And then I would go yes. Just delete the shit that I don't need. What are the other plugins like Manipulator? Portal is another one I use. Oh, see that? That is just what I'm looking for right there. So you'll go. You get the point, like that's like. That part, I'll just chop parts up and I'll make. That's how I mainly use it for like the kind of intricate fills and stuff. See, now you guys have got me in the, like, I'm just kind of in a hole now. And then you got yourself a start of a song. I'm going to actually make a song out of this and show you guys one sometime. Yeah, anyway, I'll show you this collab. Also, I'll quickly show you Portal. I'll drag it on just to show you. Portal. I'll do it on top of the sound, so you can fuck with the sound even more if you want. And again, I'll just go through the presets, like, glitchy. Some of them are shit, but some of them are really good. Oh, yes. See what I mean? Oh. Let me just mute the sounds in the actual song and just hear this real quick. Just so I don't fuck with it all. Messing with this song too much. There you go. Now I'm like a rhythm lord, rhythm king. See that? See what I did there. Anyway, I'm gonna show you guys the Reject collab. Yeah, I won't show all of it, but you know. Yeah, pretty cool. Alright, well, it's about time to finish up, but is there anything you guys want to hear before I go? Real quick. You guys have got 10 seconds to tell me what you want to hear before I go. I'm saving a copy in case I changed too much. I hope you guys enjoyed today. I actually had a lot of fun. That was the first time I've done like a stream for a lot of people, and yeah, it was sick. I would do this again. So hit me up if you guys got any questions anytime. Like hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. How did I know that it was going to be the Sudden Death collab? I can show a bit of it. I can show a little bit of that before I go, but it will have to be super quick. Which one should I show you guys? I'll show you this one. And then I'm out of here. If this lets me drag the track in, that would be absolutely great. I'll show you guys some of this song. That's all I can show you guys. But yeah, thank you guys very much. I enjoyed this a lot, And yeah, if you got any questions ever, just shoot me a message or whatever, and I'll always answer. Send me music. I have a I have a group, Facebook group called Avance Gang. Oh, Avance Army. I actually changed it. Sorry, and I answer people's questions. I take music feedback, anything you need. But yeah, I hope to see you guys again soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys.